What worked for us when they were little isn't really working anymore. How do you travel with teens? We've got a little bit of advice, and we got some from some folks in the RVing community as well. Plus, our recent trip to New Glarus, Wisconsin. We got our first RV trip under our belts this year. This is RV Miles. Welcome to episode number 320 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby. And we are two RVers who, along with our three boys, Jack, Ethan, and Henry, have been crisscrossing all over North America on one epic road trip since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to travel destinations, our national parks, and a whole lot more.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are just coming off of having our first RV trip of the year under our belts. If you don't know, the Midwest, it's hard to camp before April. About April 15th is when a lot of campgrounds open up in the Midwest. Some of them even later, but few earlier. There's starting to be a little bit more shoulder season availability out there, but not a whole lot. So we got the RV de-winterized. We took it over to the local, no longer a KOA, used to be a KOA, but no longer a KOA campground, where we parked it for 2 nights and didn't stay in it, but de-winterized, cleaned everything up. We didn't really do much to it after after moving out of it last year. We actually still had a bunch of stuff in it from homecoming. Homecoming was kind of the last time we were really in the IMAX, right?
Yeah, we also maybe had some crumbs in the microwave.
The microwave didn't get cleaned. The fridge didn't get cleaned.
No, these things were, so the fridge ran all winter just off the batteries. We actually never turned it off. We just let it go. Yeah. And so the fridge was fine. It just needed to be cleaned. There wasn't food in it. It's just, I don't know how it happens, but fridges become dirty. You don't recall a thing being spilled in there. You don't recall the bottle that you put away having like a little extra mustard on it or something. You don't know how those things happen, but they end up in the fridge, right? Like just these little markings of mess. And so that was still in there, and it just hung out all winter waiting for our return. I knew immediately when I opened the microwave what the very last thing was that was cooked in there, and it was a pizza. May have even been a Totino's pizza by the little crust crumbs that were on the bottom there. But other than that, the Bexy was fine. I mean, she just hung out for the winter. We have some things next winter that we're going to do. Like, we will actually, clean it up and all the normal stuff. But we do think we're going to do a few extra preventative maintenance things on Bexy, because winters here are getting colder. The snow, when it does fall, is falling, I think in January we got dumped like a couple of feet all
and then
at
it was
once.
gone in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that are not great for an RV in this environment. So we want to be a little bit more mindful about that next year with our RV. But yeah, we got it all put together. It felt so good to be back in there. And can I say, and I said this on Instagram, I'm going to say it again, the amount of space in an RV when you are not living in it full time is heavenly.
Ain't that the truth?
There was space for days.
Yeah, we just didn't have all the stuff.
No,
that doesn't mean, though, that we might, going forward, be like, well, we're not full time anymore, so we've got room to bring this along, and
we have room to buy things and bring them home is what's so exciting. That my coffee mug collection is just going to go through the roof this summer. Like, it was really exciting to get in there and get it cleaned up and go out for the weekend and only pack the clothes we needed for the weekend. Only
3 outfits. It was great.
Maybe we were a little underpacked, like the kids. I forgot that we needed to travel home, and you kind of are like, well, maybe you can just rewear these shorts. Well,
not after playing in the dirt.
After being out from early in the morning till late at night with your friends, just running around and living your best campground life. Your clothes are going to get dirty, and what a great reason for clothes to get dirty, right? So next time, maybe just that extra buffer outfit is needed. These are learning curves for us, right? This whole weekend was a huge learning curve for us. Learning how to go out and camp for just a weekend and then coming back, like what you have to do when you return, right? Like we can't just go and park Bexy.
Just be done.
Right. And just be like, well, and just leave the food in here. We'll just leave the clothes. Yeah. No, all that stuff has to be unloaded.
It is stored at a really easy entry storage lot 5 minutes from our house. Mm-hmm. We actually drive past it on the way to the office.
Yeah, so we're always waving at the Bexy.
It's really easy. We've been into it many times over the winter and stuff like that. So it's not that hard to deal with, but maybe that makes it a little easier to not do the things that we should be doing, right? So we think, it's just right there. We can do it at any time.
Can you imagine if it was like on our property?
Yeah, right.
You know, the nice thing too, if we can't have it on our property because we are in this apartment complex right now, is that we are actually able, because it's so tiny, we were able to drive Bexy into the parking lot of the apartment complex. Yeah. And so that did help, you know, not only the last few things we wanted to do to load up on Friday before we left, but then when we returned on Monday, we went right to the apartment. We parked there in the parking lot towards the back where no one really parks. So we weren't, you know, bothering our neighbors. And then we were able to work together as a team, all 5 of us, to get everything unloaded and out and then just take it over to storage. So we didn't have to do any of that stuff. At least at storage, we were able to do it at home, just take it up into the apartment. And
yeah, it really does feel like just kind of a new kind of RVing.
It was really, it was exciting. It was great.
So we traveled to New Glarus, Wisconsin, which is right outside of the Madison area a little bit. New Glarus is a really cool Swiss town that has lots of Swiss architecture and homes and stuff. It's really quaint, cute little town and has a state park right next to it, New Glarus Woods State Park, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we went up there to meet our friends Jamie and Clay and their daughters Grace and JoJo, who we had a reunion with after not seeing them since homecoming.
Oh my gosh, it'd been so long.
And it was Clay's birthday weekend. And part of the whole reason we were all going there was to go to the New Glarus Brewery, which is one of Clay's favorite breweries.
Yeah, we wanted some spotted cow.
So New Glarus is a really well-known Wisconsin craft brewery, and they don't sell outside of Wisconsin at all. So if you've never heard of them and you're not from this area, that's probably why. But a lot of folks from the surrounding states often will go up there and get some beer and bring it home. And I actually was talking to our friend Rob earlier yesterday, who is telling me that he still has some Wisconsin beer in his fridge from like a year ago.
Does he really? Well, your dad was like, bring me back some spotted cow, bring me back a case of it. You know, I mean, we got orders to return with some of this beer. That's how popular it is for those who've enjoyed it. I mean, our friend Brooks from RV Out West just sent us a message too, where he's like, and he's all the way out in Washington, and he's like, oh, I'm holding on to my last little bits until I can get more spotted cow.
But the first big surprise of the weekend was that the brewery is not open on the weekends anymore. Apparently, they have decided that it got too busy on the weekends, and they didn't have enough parking space. So they decided to shut down visitation on the weekend. So you can only visit New Glarus Brewery, which is apparently a really cool campus, on weekdays.
Can you imagine having a business where you're like, no, stop. Don't give me your money on the weekends. I don't want it. It's just too much.
I'm guessing the brewery visitation is such a small part of their income that is not something that they wanted to deal with.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the state of Wisconsin. They're selling plenty of beer to go with that cheese. It's fine.
Yeah. But we did have a great time camping at New Glarus Woods State Park and then going and visiting the town of New Glarus.
Let's just give some facts about camping here in case you're interested. So like Jason said, New Glarus Woods State Park. So we were in site 17. It's one of the very last sites. I don't know that I recommend it. We were a 25-foot RV. The site said that it could fit up to 30. I do not believe that because not necessarily because of the site. The site was really nice and big, but because this site is at the end of the horseshoe loop, right up against the main road. And in order to get into it, we had to go into the main road, which is a main road. It is used as a throughway.
Yeah, not just a park road.
It's people, county in or something. And so we had to not only go out there, and I had to stand out there and stop traffic.
And it was kind of a blind hill too, of traffic, oncoming traffic. So really, I was uncomfortable with you standing out there as well.
Really wish I had Jamie's vest, which when we eventually get Baja to Alaska out, you will understand what that means. But I do wish I had Jamie's vest at that time. And then not only did we have to do that, but then to back into the site, we also had to contend with the stop sign, with another post across from the site. We had to contend with those. So you're looking at passenger to make sure passenger isn't going to smack into the sign. Then we had to contend with the post sign that was in our site as well. And I gotta say, like a boss, you were awesome. Considering we hadn't done this in 7 months.
Yeah, it's been 7 months. And this was one of the more difficult situations that we've ever been in, backing up into a site.
I always equate it. In my mind, I always think about that scene, for those of you who've seen Austin Powers, that scene in Austin Powers where he's like in the arena or something and he's driving around in the cart and he gets stuck and the cart is literally just facing wall to wall and he's just forward, back, and he's not moving.
It was that.
That was pretty much what this had to be in order to make sure that.
And like driving into the trees a little bit.
A little driving into the trees. At one point, I'm like, I have a big long stick and I'm holding up branches in the back of the site to just try to give us a little bit of clearance to get back there. So I don't know who's measuring.
There's some weirdness here too, because the campground loop is called, it's labeled as family campsites.
Yeah.
And then there's the group campsites. And I guess we were family campsites. That doesn't mean anything special here. It's just the regular campsites, right?
Yeah.
And also there's an entrance station. So there's lots of signs that say you have to go to the entrance station to check in. Mm-hmm. And the entrance station from the direction we came into this park would have been impossible to turn into for any rig larger than ours. First off, we probably never would have brought Sabre here. It's not happening. I don't think you can anyway. I think they've got a pretty strong limit. I don't really, to be honest, I don't look too much at the overall limits of sites. I've kind of gotten out of that habit with the Ibex because at 25 feet, it's pretty simple. We're going to be able to get into a ton of places. I will say too, so this was dry camping for us all weekend, which felt pretty natural after 2023. Lots of tree coverage. Yeah, so dry camping in the shade, so not a lot of solar. Yeah.
Lots of tree coverage. No Starlink has happened in here, really. So no, I think at the peak of the day, we at one point were pulling in like 120 watts off of over 700 up there. So lots of coverage. No generators. Absolutely no generators are allowed in Wisconsin state parks, period. If you need to use a generator, you have to apply for a permit. It's something I've never heard of ever before. But they're very, very, very strict about this. And it makes sense because this was a really heavily tent camped campground. Lots and lots of people in tents. I would say they might have outnumbered.
Oh, for sure.
Or just teeny, like little tiny, adventure trailers.
Yeah. A few teardrops and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, us not having camped in 7 months, we do have a decent amount of battery. We have 500 amp hours of lithium batteries, but there was some concern about would we be able to make it through the weekend and all that sort of stuff. It was fine.
We were fine. Again, because I think 2023, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
We did this for our whole lives for over 7 years. So 7 months off. I mean, we've taken long periods of time off the road. A lot of times we're notorious for being off the road on the summers, all of these things. It is like riding a bike. You just get back in there and you go and do it. Battery management was not a big deal. Nobody showered. I mean, just 3 days. Nobody showered. Yeah. The water was fine.
Oh, the water didn't tick down from full until
Monday,
until we left.
Well, until I was like, well, we're getting ready to leave. The batteries are going to be fine.
Now we can use water.
Use water for everything.
I almost showered and you're like, but that'll take battery.
I was like, okay, can you?
I'll just stink.
Stop. The story was you were going to do it on Sunday night. And I was like, hey, we're hovering around like 35% right now on the batteries. We're not thinking we're kicking out of here until Monday afternoon. That said, we will recover none of this because it is going to rain, which it did. It started raining early Monday morning. A storm came through, lightning, thunder, torrential downpour at about 3:30 in the morning. And then it stayed cloudy and rainy the whole rest of the time. We got 0 off of anything. And I thought, well, maybe let's not use the pump and, let's just be a little bit more conservative. And I am a more conservative human. I get it. A lot of people would have been like, whatever, we get down to 8%. It's fine. I just wanted to leave a little with the batteries a little bit more. So you kindly stunk, I guess, which I didn't think stink, but that's fine. Whatever. For your family. Sure. For my comfort level, I should say.
A couple other weird things here at this. So that entrance station that I mentioned, there was actually nobody manning it, even though they have all these signs that you have. So you had to like drive way past the campground, go to the entrance station in this awful turn down a tiny road, and then there's nobody there. So you then have to turn around and go back. This campground was almost totally unmanned. I think they had a camp host, which to me, part of that, I was like, you know what? This is how it should be. Like, we don't need 40 people running a state park campground, right? No, we don't need people checking you in and stuff. We just go to your site. If you're paying in advance, if you're reserved and stuff, just go to your site.
Well, you already have all my information. I've paid for the site. I've registered what vehicle I have. I've given you the information on my tow vehicle. You have everything about
and
me.
And you've given me lots of emails with information.
Right. But here's something that's a little bit of a kicker, though, if you miss it, and it's possible to miss this. So the site itself was $21 a night on the weekends, $21 during the week. Great price. However, that does not include either your tow vehicle. It does not include your vehicle.
Yeah, you have to have a vehicle pass. So in Wisconsin state parks, and this is our first time in a Wisconsin state park, so I'd love to hear from anybody that has frequented them or is from Wisconsin on this. But like, it's $11 a night for your vehicle, or you can pay $38 for the year. And we did the math, and for 3 nights, we weren't going to need the year price, and we've got the rest of our year planned out, right? But the weird part is you have to pay daily, and you can't pay it as like part of your reservation or something like that. You can go like online and pay each day on that day for your parking, or you can go up to the entrance station and put cash in a box, which we don't really carry that much cash.
Definitely don't carry checks. So, and maybe we're missing a step here. It's quite possible. I clicked through on all the links that they provided me, both on when I made the initial reservation and when I got my reminder email. Maybe I missed a step in there. It's quite possible. Sometimes these state park campground reservation sites, there's just a lot of little extra things that you miss. Maybe there's something on there that allows you to pay for more than one night, and we just missed it. Yeah. But regardless, this is one of the few times I can remember where I've ever been asked to pay for my vehicle on top of my campground reservation. Now, sometimes they'll say you still have to have, sometimes they'll say you still have to have that park entry fee, right? You pay, this is national parks, right? Like if there's an entry fee into the national park, well, you're paying for the campground, but you also have to still pay for entry into the national park.
And that's what the case is. That's what this is.
That's essentially what this is, right? But why not build it? But why not let me, when I made the reservation, I wish I could have just gone ahead and paid for the either yearly state park pass or paid for my entry fee for each day I was going to be there. That wasn't an option. It was a completely separate link that you had to go to take care of. It was very strange.
And then on top of that, though, this this campground is just a campground. I mean, there's a few trails and stuff in this park, but it's essentially just a campground.
There's actually several trails. I don't know if you saw the trail map, but there's several trails. There was a really great playground. I mean, it's definitely a a city-state park.
I'm just saying, when you add on, okay, it's $22 a night, which sounds affordable, but then you add on the nightly vehicle fee. Now we're up into the mid 30s for a no hookup campsite. And it's starting to get a little pricey.
Yeah, there's no bathhouses.
No dump station.
No dumps. I think that was kind of like okay, guys, come on. Like, there's not even a dump station here. So we had to pay to, I think we ended up at a Love's and we paid $10 to dump the tanks before we headed home. I think it was pit toilets.
Yeah.
I didn't open the door because the door looked scary itself.
They did not look like places I would want to enter.
I couldn't have been happier to be in an RV, and there were tent campers across from us that I was like, hard pass, not doing it. So just a few things like that. That said, you have this access to New Glarus, which is wonderful. And we're only about 3 hours from here. So I actually can't wait to go back and explore a little bit more. We didn't have time because we were visiting with our friends, and our main focus was just to spend time with them.
Really, the only thing we were going to do was go to the brewery. So instead of going to the brewery, we went to the Dirty Dog Tap Room, which is one of these places. Tap house, excuse me, which is one of these places where they actually have like serve yourself taps. So there's like a little electronic thing, and they give you a key card and you tap it on them, and you can pour as little or as much as you want into, like, they have chilled beer glasses in a refrigerator that you can take out. So if you want to try an ounce and then see if you like it, you can get more.
It's like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the adult version.
We've got a place like that here too in town. That I walked into that just as Jack was in class. I was going to sit in there and work, and I was a little overwhelmed by the one here. But this one was fun. They had really good
this one was great. And everyone there was really nice. Super highly recommend this place. Classic bar food, Wisconsin fried and cheese.
I mean, real cheese curds.
Yeah, like what more you need?
Folks outside of dairy producing areas may have had cheese curds. Like, you go to like a Culver's and get cheese curds. If you're getting cheese curds from Culver's,
don't you come at Culver's cheese curds. How dare you? They're Wisconsin dairy. Their whole thing is about Wisconsin.
That it's my understanding that a cheese curd, in order to actually make it onto your plate fried, not ever frozen, it has to be done within like a matter of days.
I believe Culver's can do it. So
if you're getting it in Missouri, I don't know I think you're probably getting frozen cheese curds.
I think there's a place in Missouri called Osceola Cheese Company.
Sure.
That's heading like 2 hours.
There are cows in other places. I believe that there
are cows and dairy. Even though, and I loved this, someone in Illinois that knew we were up there said, every time I love crossing the cheese curtain into
the cheese. But
I was like,
my point being, whether there's cows in that area or not, often cheese curds are just like miniature mozzarella sticks. That's not a cheese curd. And if you've ever had a real one, you'll know the difference.
Cheese curds, people, can you weigh in here? Because I feel like cheese curds are a little bit more readily available. I've seen them vacuum sealed. Like, why? I mean, we've bought vacuum sealed cheese curds, and they didn't have a shelf life of 2 days. I think I'm gonna politely disagree with you on this one, especially at Culver's. I'm gonna now you're looking
We're
it
gonna
up.
time out here.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'm going to talk a little bit more here. So Dirty Dog Tap House also is pet friendly. They have tons of games. They had live music while we were there. They had outdoor band that was playing. They were really kicking into their season when we got there. They had some of the nicest staff too. Their staff was really friendly and really welcoming, and so happy to have the season upon them. So if you're in that area and it's on the weekend, highly recommend there. If you're wanting pizza, don't go to Sugar River Pizza. The pizza was garbage. It wasn't very good. Skip that.
Okay, so cheese curds they're bits of curdled milk. They like squeak when you rub them together if they're fresh.
Yes.
So they do have a little bit of a mild cheddar like flavor, and they can be eaten right away. They're not aged at all, but they can last up to 3 weeks. So I suppose it is possible that Culver's is getting Wisconsin cheese curds fresh in, I don't know which states Culver's is in. I know they're in Kansas City area. So they're getting that far in 2 weeks. But if you're getting them in states that don't have dairies, I would be very weary of cheese, because I've had cheese curds at places where it literally is breaded and fried mozzarella. That is not a cheese curd.
Culver's, call me if you want to come on the show, set the record straight. Like, let me know. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. Give us a call.
And I think you're supposed to just have them as fresh as can be, right?
Yes.
Well, when we had them at Tillamook, right? I mean, brand new, fresh. Those were the best cheese curds I've ever had in my life. Those
were so good. Those were so good. We are still talking about that place. It's been almost a year.
Yeah.
Since we've been there. It was so good. So good. So that was our time in New Glarus. It was great. It was a wonderful weekend. It was really spent just to have time with Jamie, Clay, and the girls.
It was an old-fashioned hangout at the campground, play lots of games. We played lots of different card games and stuff.
Music and drinks and hang out and food. And yeah, it was a good old-fashioned campground
I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of those.
Absolutely. And actually, we're going to be talking about, in a little bit more detail, our travels this summer for Detour, which is the podcast we do for Mile Marker members every week. It's kind of the show after the show. We're going to go into a little bit more detail and a lot of specifics about what our travels look like this year, including ways that we can connect with some of you if you're going to be in the area. So if that's something you're interested in, if you want to know a little bit more of what we're up to and where we're going, we would really love to welcome you as a Mile Marker member. It's just $7 a month or $70 for the whole year. You get 2 months free that way. You're going to get the Detour podcast every week. You're going to have access to a lifetime digital subscription to RV Today magazine and so many other things, like this opportunity if we all want to get together and put Jason's cheese curd conspiracy to test this summer in the Southeast. So just go over to rvmiles.com/mile markers to learn a little bit more. We even do, I forgot to mention, lives. We even have our monthly live, which is coming up on June 3rd. So now is an excellent time to become a Mile Marker member. You can join us on June 3rd and tell Jason live the real deal on cheese curds.
I think I just already told you the real deal on cheese curds.
I think so. I think a representative from
Google does not lie.
Whoa. Hold up there. The interwebs.
This AI snippet on Google does not lie.
Watch out there. A representative from Culver's will be on the live. I guarantee it.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways and campgrounds and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. Award-winning tow bars, base plates, and brakes, a full line of weight distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and a new line of fifth wheel hitches. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com.
RV Miles is sponsored by Harvest Hosts. Harvest Hosts is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America. Breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today.
Okay, we now have 2 teenagers and a third child that thinks he's a teenager. So we thought it'd be fun to talk a little bit about how traveling with teenagers changes things a little bit. You know, teenagers always come with their own difficulties, just as the different different ages of students do. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, there are challenges in traveling with the teenager, often because they've built a social network, they've got events, they've got things to do. Those can be difficult to work around. And our kids, certainly in the time since we have come off the road as full-timers, have gotten into lots of different activities here locally that they're involved in. They are constantly talking to friends online and that sort of stuff. So traveling with them is a little bit different than it used to be when our kids were younger.
So this all really came up. I brought this idea to you because as I was putting together our summer travels, we're out for 6 weeks this year. And it got me thinking about what it was like and the things that we did when we first started traveling. When we first started traveling, we had a 3, a 6, and a 9-year-old. This summer, we will have a 12, a 14, and a soon-to-be 17-year-old. And it got me thinking about how different our time is. You know, when we first started traveling, and for many years that we were traveling, we were kind of the center of their universe, right? Yeah. They were our shadows. They kind of did what we did. We planned these activities that were still little kid friendly, but maybe were a little bit more in line with what you and I wanted to do, right? And now we have older kids who are forming and who have formed their own personalities and their own interests and their own communities. And that is a different way of looking at our travels this summer. And so I brought this to you as to maybe talk about some things that I've kind of discovered as I've been putting this together, some tips I can share. But then I also reached out to the RV community, and a few people have some things that they share as well in this episode about their life on the road with kids. So, for me, I think the very first thing I had to think about when putting this together was that I do think you need, if you're traveling with teens, you do need to allow for some space for the fact that they have started sort of their own social lives. Jason talked about this before, and relationships that are outside of us.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's really important as we travel for these 6 weeks, not for 3 days. For 3 days, the kids unplugged and that was fine. We're out for this long stretch. And I think we do need to make sure that we build in downtime to allow them to continue to have those relationships that they will have through online time, right?
Expecting a teenager to spend 2 weeks not talking to their friends at all is unrealistic these days. I mean, I know it used to be a thing back when we were kids that if you went on a family vacation for 2 weeks, you probably weren't going to be talking to anybody in that time. But it's just not realistic in today's age.
Well, and for us in particular, we have our oldest son, Jack. He very regularly, he's a budding filmmaker, very regularly. So, and in his community, he also is friends with budding filmmakers. They will set up times that they will watch a movie together online. So he'll come to me and say, Mom, hey, what are we doing? Are we going to be home Sunday night, like around 8? My friend so-and-so and I, we want to watch this movie together. And it's not that they want to go watch the movie at the movie theater. They're going to watch it together online.
Yeah, they watch them all. They all press play at the same time. And
they have a watch party.
And
so that is a really important component of Jack's life. Like just as his development into a career that he is interested in. So I know that while we're on the road, we need to leave time for that. Now, I am putting like I am going to say, look, like the time that we're at Disney, though, that's like a hard stop. Well, we're in Disney mode. Y'all got to get on board.
So that's not to say, though, that we just allow them to do whatever they want to do when we're on vacation. Now, of course, we're coming off of being full-timers, but going forward, there has to be some expectations of like, okay, kids, we're on vacation. We're going to be having to cut way back on a lot of the things you do. We need you to select those times that those are happening. We need to have that planned out so that we can have our vacation activities, right?
Yeah. So we're going to try to find that balance this year. We'll check back in with everyone at the end of summer and see how that went for the Eppersons. But beyond just trying to allow them to have that little bit of connectivity with their friends while they're on the road, and you making peace with that. Make that the time that if you're, in an area where, like when we're in Savannah or something, we'll go and maybe you and I will just hang out and have dinner somewhere. We'll have our own version of a date night while the kids have their version of, hangout time with their friends. On travel days, one of the things that when the kids were little, of course they had, things, their music or whatever, but generally we could pick, an audiobook that we all wanted to listen to. And it was kind of driven by Jason or me, and we would listen to it. At this point, I think our interests are very varied. And I thought, well, okay, Jack and Ethan, they all have podcasts or music or audiobooks that maybe I'm not super thrilled about. Like, they're not my favorite. Like, I'm not really into the film critique podcasts like Jack is and like you are. But what a great way to bring all of us into a space together, to allow them to pick an album that we're all going to listen to, or pick an episode of a podcast that we're all going to listen to, or pick out an audiobook. There's been a big, strong request from Ethan and from you as well that maybe we re-listen to all of the Harry Potters this summer while we're traveling.
Great road trip pick, by the way, to listen to the Jim Dale narrated Harry Potter books.
Yeah, Jim Dale. I am 55% excited about that.
Yeah, it's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment. It's a big commitment. But that is something that they're interested in, right? Yeah. So also at the same time, it's okay if everybody just plugs into their own devices and does their thing, and be okay with that with your teens. Like
we don't need to be precious about driving. Like I think sometimes folks get into this thing like, okay, we're driving down the road and seeing the country, and we all need to be off our devices and
looking out the window.
And for us, I think that's the best time to be on devices and stuff.
No, they just need to have the RV Miles podcast playing as they drive down the road. That's all you need to be doing.
I mean, most drive days, of course, if you're driving somewhere beautiful, of course, that's great to look at. But let's be honest. Drive days were terrible when we were all kids on long vacations. They were miserable. We didn't have anything at all to do. And it's great that there are options for them now.
I think sometimes as the kids get older, there can be this pressure to get them to look out the window and pay attention, because now that they're starting to make core memories, right? When they're little, you're like, oh, I just really want you to sleep on this drive day because you're going to get a nap. But as they get older, you feel like my responsibility is for them to appreciate everything that is in front of them right now. And I must remind them, look out the window, look how amazing this view is. Oh my gosh, did you guys see that? Just let them experience this in the way that they will experience it. And what I learned from that a few years ago was that they're paying attention. Yeah, they're paying attention just in their own way.
And you can still point out things that you see going down the road, right?
But I don't have to be like, get off your device and pay attention to what's out,
Not worth it. You'd rather pick other times for them to be off their devices when you're actually at the destinations, right?
When we're actually, when we're at the destination, when we're going on the hike, when we're doing the thing, that's, pick your battles, right? Sure. And we learned and decided years ago that travel days was not something that we were interested in kind of forcing some like super happy family narrative, like, this is downtime. It's we're connected, and yet at the same time, it's just a decompressing time for all of us, I think, when we're in the car. So there's that. So then I thought, look for activities that really speak to the interest of your kids. Like, Jason and I, we love national parks, but not everyone in our family wants to spend every single moment in a national park. Or maybe not everyone in your family wants to spend every moment in a museum or out on a hike. Or maybe they don't want to always be chilling at the campground. Like, everyone has lots of personalities, lots of wants. And also, I think, when they were little, the children's museums, the playgrounds, finding all the cool playgrounds everywhere that we went.
Yeah, that's not the thing anymore. They can't, and even the campgrounds, you can't just like go out to the playground.
I mean, it was great this weekend, but that's because they were with friends, right? Yeah. And they all ran off to just like do their thing. Yeah. And most of the time they're just sitting there all talking to each other.
And Henry's still young enough to really like playgrounds a lot. Yeah. And they still do playground type games, but Jack is Jack is not into playgrounds anymore.
Right? No. And so I thought, look, if you are heading out with an older teen, if you're heading out with a teen this summer, be that yours, or maybe you're a grandparent, or, you want to let your teens and their, invite a friend to come along or something. I was thinking about some activities that maybe might speak to them a little bit more. Things that, just from my perspective, we didn't think a lot about when the kids were younger, because some of these activities would have felt a little bit harder when they were toddlers or preschoolers or even young elementary kids, because we wouldn't have enjoyed them. And my first is really like a sporting event.
Yeah.
Checking out the local baseball teams, be that, high A or double A or triple A or all these.
That's a real fun thing for us to be able to go to some sporting events around the country that are not necessarily top tier pro sports. A lot of local sporting events have, especially baseball, has been great for us.
Minor league, high school teams, arena based sports. A lot of those, we certainly did those with the kids when they were little, but that was a lot of time spent like walking around, and there wasn't a whole lot of time spent actually watching the game, because you're just kind of chasing littles, which was a wonderful season of life. But now that they're older, we're actually watching the game. We're watching it as a family. So that's something to think about. Music festivals, local music festivals, even large scale music festivals. I mean, we know our friends, Jamie and Clay over at Letters from the Road podcast, they're traveling all over this summer, and it's their summer of song. They're going from music festivals to concerts because, their kids and them are old enough now. They all have these kind of shared interest in music.
Music festivals in general, I think a lot of people don't realize how big of camping events a lot of them are. Mm-hmm. A lot of them take place at places that have campgrounds, whether that's a state fair grounds or something like that. But a lot of them are fairly camping based. I know a lot of the peer-to-peer RV rental companies, they do big business at those things.
Absolutely. So a few other things I have on here are local theater. Get out and check out what's going on in the community that you go into. Maybe trivia night at local restaurants or bars that, have all ages trivia. That has been so much fun. Of course, hikes or tours that you never really would have done when the kids are little. Well, now you can do them right now. Those trolley tours and things like that where, maybe you're sitting for a little bit longer. Those are things now that you can absolutely do with the big kids. Go to the movies. Like if there's a great movie coming out this summer that's beyond just like, Garfield, then go to the movies.
I want to see Garfield.
Stop it. So, well, okay. Sorry to all my Garfield fans out there.
I will not be paying to see Garfield in a movie theater. That's
also, I put on there, just leave them at home. Like if we have a sort of a radius of which we're comfortable stepping away.
We having spent our last several years on the road as full-timers, I think we've grown into being comfortable with this. But folks who are just traveling on a vacation type basis, it's still worthwhile to consider, like, you as the adults want to go out to a restaurant and the kids aren't into it, why pay the $25 price for the meal that they're not going to eat or whatever it is? Just have fun on your own.
Sorry, will you say all that again?
Why pay the $25 price tag for the meal that they're not going to eat, or why put them through an experience? Enjoy the fact that, this thing that you do at home now where you can leave your kids behind, you can still do that on vacation.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Please know we're talking about teens here.
Sure.
Please do not.
Of age to be left alone.
Yes. Please, they need to be of age to be left alone for you to do that. But really, I was thinking too, even if you find yourself over the summers at one of these RV resorts that might have a restaurant or a little bar or something that, that's their hangout night, and you two go have a date night or something. Yeah. Be okay splitting off and everyone doing their own thing. Amusement parks are huge. That's been a big request from our kids over the last couple of years, wanting to go to amusement parks. And it's really fun to go now that they're older. Like everyone can ride everything now. So that's such an exciting thing to do. Outdoor festivals. And then I put on here that if they're driving, let them drive.
Yeah, give them the freedom to do something on their own. Jack doesn't, he's got his learner's permit and stuff like that. But even as a non-driver, there have been times in the last year where we drop him off somewhere and let him go, or we're at a campground that's walking distance to a downtown, let him go to coffee shops and stuff on his own, stuff like that.
But, even just consider letting them drive all of you to the destination from the campground. Or if you have a really, if you feel good with it, maybe let them get behind the wheel with that RV back there. Even if it's just driving to the dump station.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be out on the highway, heading to the next destination. But why not? I mean, you yourself have talked about, you were, 14, 15?
Yeah.
When you were driving with a trailer behind you?
Yeah.
So why not, if you have a kid that you feel confident that can do that, why not make that a core memory experience for them? Give them the opportunity to do something like that,
Yeah.
So these are just a few of the suggestions that we have. We did, before we wrap this up, we did reach out to others in the RV community to see what comments they might have for us. And so what I have here now is just 3 sort of suggestions from full-time RV families, which I think is really important perspective to have here, because a lot of people are full-timing with their teens, and that presents a whole host of other challenges that aren't just for a short trip, long trip in the summer or whenever shoulder season, but they're all year long. So David Mullins from RVfamily.life, they travel with a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and he said that for their older daughter, it's really important for her to know that time is being carved out to see friends that she's met. And that they really notice a difference in her outlook towards travel when they don't have anything on the books, that she doesn't have that next thing to kind of look forward to. So they really try to put that as a priority for her. Another thing they always do is take time to check in with the kids, which I think is really important. If you're out on a long journey in general, check in with the kids, see how they're doing. Are they enjoying it? But he said that after the first year, what was really a sweet spot for them, and I think a lot of full-time families would agree with this, was when they landed at a campground for the winter with tons of other full-time families. And then they had that whole winter experience where the kids had these months and months on end of just unlimited playmates.
Yeah.
Right.
And even if you don't have that option, if you're traveling shorter periods or whatever, if you choose campgrounds that have activities that are sort of like social activities where the kids are really good about quickly making new friends at a campground. They may never see those friends again, but if that campground sort of facilitates a bit of that, that can be really helpful.
Absolutely. Rick and Donis from Go RV Yourself said that they really try to focus in on activities that are of interest. They have 2 teenage kids. And so they were saying their oldest is really into aviation. So they try to go to events and museums when possible. And then also that their oldest is now starting to think about school. I think they said he's 16. And so what they're not only doing is they're looking at what his interests are, but they're using this time out on the road to also go to universities and military bases to talk about like what he might be interested in the world of aviation, and kind of give him an idea of what's out there, not maybe just local within a radius of like if they had a home base universities, but all the universities are out there. What a great way to use your RV to go on a university tour, right? How great is that? So I really loved that idea that trying to find the interests that are not only the interests now, but have the potential to be perhaps lifelong interests, careers for your teen when you're out on the road, and using that time. Charity from Grateful Glamper, she wrote that one of the things we've been doing to keep our kids wanting to travel in the RV is hitting some of the best roller coasters in the USA. They have teens as well. She went on to say that last year they met friends at Cedar Point in Ohio, and that this year they're going to be going to Dollywood and Six Flags. So not only are they doing this that their kids are interested in, but they've found another full-time family that's also interested in it. And they've got these friendships, and they're making this point of all going to amusement parks together. So this sort of meeting up with friends on the road and keeping the interest, she said, has been huge for their kids to want to keep the RV life going. So those are just a few suggestions from others in the RV community. So we really appreciate them sharing their thoughts with us. We will put in the show notes or the description how you can go and follow these families for yourself and kind of see how they are enjoying and living the RV life. If you have suggestions for traveling with teens or any thoughts about what we just talked about, we would absolutely love to read them in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, of course, you can go over to the RV Miles Facebook group and we can talk about it over there as well. Or you can just send us a private email and we can have that back and forth just between the two of us.
Absolutely.
Did you know that eTrailer.com is focused on putting actual hands on the products they sell? That allows the representatives to see, touch, and know exactly what it is like to use the product they're providing you with quality service and recommendations based on personal experience. If you're looking for a one-stop shop, eTrailer.com has you covered with a variety of RV items, including towing options, interior accessories, replacement parts, storage, and more. Have you ever wondered where you can find some of the odd parts for your RV online? eTrailer.com is where you do it. Visit rvmiles.com/eTrailer and receive free shipping on orders over $99. That's rvmiles.com/eTrailer.
More in a moment, but first, this video is sponsored by our friends at RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. You get 35% off right now through the end of the month. This is the best deal they've ever offered us to give to you. RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding makes great mattresses that are different sizes to be able to fit those RV King and RV Queens, the different lengths, the different widths, the different thicknesses. Sometimes you can't have a mattress that's too thick or your slide won't close over the top of it or a cabinet won't open. And they have real mattresses with springs in them and everything that are vacuum packed and shipped to you in a box to a campground, to your home, wherever you are. They'll ship it to you from their factory in Arizona. They have a 120-night sleep trial. Their mattresses are toxin free and they are great. We have many of them in both of our RVs and in our home because they are real mattresses from a real mattress company and not just a piece of foam that came with your RV or that you buy off of Amazon. A good night's sleep at the campground really makes all the difference in the world. It's why most of us buy RVs so we don't have to sleep on the ground, right? If you spend a lot of money on an RV, spend a little bit more on a good night's sleep. It's a third of the time you're going to spend at the campground. RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. Don't need a code for this promo. You just go to RVmattress.com/RVmiles and then you have to enter your phone number and they text you a code. Or when this promotion is over, you can just use the promo code RVmiles and you won't get 35% off, but you'll get 25% off for using that code.
All right, it is time to check the level of our tanks. And as always, this is sponsored by Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment. If you want to claim one of your free bottles, they're giving away 10,000 bottles and they are very, very close to having no more left. Just head over to liquefiedrv.com/free bottle to claim yours today. All right, Jay, what is in your fresh tank? And by fresh tank, I do mean your black tank.
Okay. So in my black tank this week is this change from the CDC and the rules for bringing a dog into the United States. So this has come in the middle of the time when a lot of folks have already started to make their way up to Alaska or have gone into Canada and don't intend to return to the lower 48 until later this year. So the CDC has some new rules about bringing a dog back into the States, whether that dog is from the States or not. And it was really unclear when they put these rules out. It was kind of unclear what they actually meant. In fact, they even have this thing called DogBot. You have to click on to launch the DogBot to answer some questions about your dog and find out whether you'll be fine bringing it back into the States. But they've cleared some of this up since I last looked at it when people had shared this with me maybe a week or so ago. They have cleared up some of the weird, awkward wording about like where did the trip originate? I don't know how you describe where a trip originates if you're a full-timer and you're like in the US going into Canada, going to the US again in Alaska, and then back into Canada and then back into the US. There were some really weird things there, but it seems like the rules have been clarified a little bit. But the thing really is your dog can't be under 6 months old to come into the U.S. So if you've already left and you have a puppy with you, I'm sorry. And also has to be microchipped. So a lot of these people, this was the real concern. A lot of these people had left the U.S. already into Canada and haven't had their pet microchipped. So bringing that pet back into the U.S. when these rules go into effect on August 1st could be a problem for them, or they're trying to find a vet in Alaska that will do it for them, because it had to be done in the U.S. I think was what the ruling used to say. That they've kind of pulled that part out, but I feel like that's probably still true, that it has to be done in the US. Just the black tank here is that there's been a lot of confusion for folks that have been traveling up to Alaska with their dogs and having these rule changes happening in the middle of the travel season up there.
That's a big black tank for me. Like, come on, CDC, you couldn't have put this out like in February and just given some people a heads up. I don't know where the disconnect is, because traveling to Alaska in the summertime has been an RV tradition for decades. It's not a secret. It's not something where you go, oh, RVers do that?
I think long-term travel, and land-based travel out of the country gets forgotten about a lot. Like, they don't necessarily think about people going into Canada or coming into the U.S. from Canada for long periods of time, like Canadian snowbirds do. And they don't think about the fact that a lot of people go back and forth from the lower 48 to Alaska, but in order to do so, you have to travel through a foreign country. And those things get forgotten a lot with Border Patrol rules and with like things like this, like CDC health code rules.
Yeah, this is absolutely poor timing on their part.
So,
all right, what's in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank was an interesting stat from KOA's North American Camping Report. I just did a whole video on this that you can check out on the RV Miles YouTube channel, going into all the details of the stats on sort of their top sheet for this report, because this is the 10th year of this report. And in celebration of that, they're putting it out in 10 different chunks. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff to cover over the next many weeks on some of the news videos. I'll be covering them, and probably a little bit here on the podcast. We'll talk about some of these things as well. But I wanted to just pull out one little stat that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to talk about as a fresh tank, because the camping industry, they had a bad 2022.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the satisfaction of guests. And some of the people in the comments of this video have been like, well, I can't trust anything positive coming out of a report sponsored by KOA. Well, KOA also put this report out last year that was showing these terrible stats that in 2022, so they put the 2023 report came out in May of 2023, but they were reporting then that only 48% of people who were camping for the first time were happy with it.
Ouch.
Only 48% of people thought it was good or great experience, and everyone else was just okay or under. So that was really bad, and that was a big drop from 2021 and 2020. And I think a lot of that has to do with site availability and having to book way in advance and all that sort of stuff. But I think a lot of it also has to do, as I said on that video, with staffing. I think there were a lot of staffing issues during that portion of the pandemic. 2021 into 2022 was very hard for a lot of businesses to get good quality employees. And I think a lot of that's ironed itself out a little bit. Campground development has lagged in this boom in camping, and it sort of started to finally come up a little bit now. More and more campgrounds have been built. But the reason this is a fresh tank, though, is the camping industry made a really big turnaround in the satisfaction of first-time campers over the course of 2023. So in 2023, it jumped from 48% of people feeling it was a good or great experience to 77% of people feeling it was a good or great experience. And then another 16% of people thought it was just okay and could have been better. And only 7% of people thought it was not very good or awful. So that was a huge increase over the 22% thought it was not good or awful in 2022, and 30% that thought it was just okay, right? So big change there. Congratulations to the camping industry on really improving. I think, and I really know that a lot of campgrounds really worked hard to provide increases in the quality of amenities they offer, and in cleanliness and in staffing and all that sort of stuff.
Well, and to earn someone's business, because as you mentioned, we saw more campgrounds open in 2023. And I think that there was kind of this like, ruh-roh, we need to make sure that we can keep up with all of this, because now people are going to have more and more options. So we need to be able to compete in order to keep that business, to keep our doors open. So I think that's really great. I look forward to seeing what 2025 is going to bring when we look at 2024 numbers. I also think it's really important to mention that while KOA pays for this, they pay to have this done. This is not looking at just KOAs. This is done by a third-party independent research company. They are going out and talking to people across all spectrums. So this isn't just a reflection on what's working at KOA. This is an overview of KOA. And KOA does not influence this. They have no say in how the data comes in, which I think is great, because no one else is giving us a real snapshot.
Yeah, it's a really great service that they provide, but it also includes all the public campgrounds out there that are operated by the government and all the state and local governments. So there have clearly been improvements on those fronts as well.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about the report and kind of really dig into what we have already, Jason has a video out over on the RV Miles YouTube channel that you can go and watch. It just came out yesterday, which is Wednesday of this week. You can go over and watch that and kind of see some of the data for yourself and see what it looked like for a lot of people in 2023.
I just want to throw another really surprising portion of this is a lot of people think that, perhaps people that bought RVs over this time, maybe they've struggled with the quality of their new RV, and maybe there has not been some satisfaction from the RVer sector of all the campers. Because of course this is covering all campers, and we're including everything: overlanding, RVing, glamping, all of it in backcountry camping is all considered in this report. But they broke out this satisfaction over their first camping experience stat out for 2023, and only 4% of RVers thought that their first experience was not very good or awful. So actually it's better than the general population. Folks that are in an RV are a little bit more satisfied than the general population is.
Okay, that's some really interesting stuff. So head over to RV Miles YouTube channel if you want to hear a little bit more.
All right, what's in your black tank this week?
So my black tank is, speaking of reports, another report came out today from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and it's talking about hurricane season, and it is not looking so great 2024 if you are going to be in the Atlantic Ocean region. They are really predicting that this is going to be an above normal season. I think the number was somewhere around there, thinking 25 hurricanes this year.
And that's because of La Nina and higher than average ocean temperature that is happening right now, that those things drive a lot of the tropical storm activity. And I looked it up. I think the typical hurricane season goes from July to the end of November. So we're looking at that time period there which is exactly when we're traveling to the Atlantic coast.
Yes,
but so we'll be on the lookout for that.
Yes, and this is again to butt up against as well some of the data that has also come out from NOAA about the summer heat intensity and these heat domes that we can expect this year, and how La Nina is going to play a big role in that as well. So this is really imperative if you're going to find yourself really anywhere in the country. They're talking Northeast when it comes to heat, Northeast and the Pacific Northwest, places that don't generally see a lot of high heat temps can really expect that this year. There is only one little swath of North America where it is going to be below average. And you want to take a guess where that is?
Not where we're going to be.
Nowhere near we're going to be. You want to take a bet? North America. So give it all. Can you think of
the Southwest?
That's so cute. No, it's like the Southwest sort of section of Alaska. So basically down in Seward and Homer, they are looking at below average temperatures and quite a rainy season. So I hope that is not going to be the case, though, for all our friends up there. But that is something to take into consideration.
Of course, long-term forecasting is a dicey business, right? There's not a lot of accuracy in long-term forecasting, and they know as the first ones to admit that. But.
Well, I'll just wait to see what Ryan Hall y'all has to say about it. Okay. I'll be there watching what he has to say. But this is more just like a black tank to the fact that these are another layers now that we have to start thinking about as RVers. Now, just 2 days ago, we had a line of storms come rip through Iowa. And
it was everywhere from,
all the way down into Texas.
Yeah, so up to Minnesota.
Yeah, the storm started, the line started all the way down in Texas and it ran all the way up into Minnesota. For whatever reason, it split right before it hit the Quad Cities here. It's wild. And this is now, I think, a layer that we as RVers have to be so wildly aware of. I know that a lot of you are saying, but Abby, it's like, I'm not going to be in Florida in like August. That's crazy. Well, people live in Florida. I mean, have you tried to book a campground in Florida? You can't get a campground in Florida if you want to go through the state parks. There are people that live in Florida that are RVers. There are people that live in these Midwest and these South and Southeast states that are RVers. They're not, going to be able to just kick out and go off on their big RV trip. They're going to go to their local campgrounds. They're going to go to their state parks. They're going to go within an hour or two of their house. So this is a reality for a lot of the RV community that...
Well, and where things happen has been shifting too. So
yes.
We've talked in the past a lot about how Tornado Alley has kind of shifted south and east from the traditional sort of Kansas and Oklahoma. Still can definitely get tornadoes. And in fact, we of course just had tornadoes here in Iowa, but the majority of tornadic activity has moved more into the southeast than
Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. They're seeing a lot of activity, but
wildfires have moved to the traditional places where wildfires have generally been, has moved a little bit. So there's changing dynamics. Even things that have always existed might be in new places.
Yeah, it's just getting different. We're looking at potentially the hottest summer on record. We thought last year was hot. Well, hold my beer. Like, these are things I think as RVers we need to be very aware of. Campgrounds can only, take so much power before, we start seeing campgrounds losing power because we're all running air conditioners and it's 110 degrees outside, without heat index. Like there's, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, Miami. You guys are on track for like hottest like summers on record. There's just things, it's a black tank. It sucks. It's like the reality of RVing now is another level that weather really, it's not just chasing 70 anymore. I don't know that you can chase 70 anymore without 70 coming at a cost.
I don't know that you ever could.
Well, I don't know. Some people have done it. I mean, but I think that chasing 70 also comes with potential like weather issues, especially if you're trying to do that like in anywhere where we live now. It's so, it's just something that I hope we all continue to pay a little bit more attention to because it's here. And really for all of our friends that are potentially looking at a rough hurricane season. I certainly hope that's not the case, but I don't even know what you do to prepare for anything like that. It's not. I know what you do to prepare for a tornado. You grab your lawn chair and a beer and you go sit out in the garage.
You absolutely do not.
I don't know.
Don't listen to her.
So when the storms came through on Tuesday, they went through there were some storms and there were some tornadoes that touched down fairly south of my parents in Missouri, but I was checking in on them and everyone was fine. But the comment from my mother was not like, we're fine, everything's fine. It was, don't let Abigail outside, Jason. Like don't. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's fine. We're fine. Like, and I mean, it ended up, we were fine. The Quad Cities was fine. But I sat out on the porch with a glass of wine, watching Ryan Hall y'all for like 2 hours. Just checking it out, seeing what was going to happen.
What's in your fresh tank?
So my fresh tank. There's an event coming up. So our friends over at RV Life are hosting, and I love this because it's free. I love when we create free events that are open to anyone in the RV community or anyone interested in RVing that wants to come and learn about the lifestyle. So they are doing a virtual summit with over 30 RV experts or speakers or people who are really heavily involved in a particular area of the RV lifestyle. It's on June 3rd. It's virtual. It is completely free. There is nothing about this that is behind a paywall. The only thing you would pay for is if you can't make it on June 3rd, but you want to have a copy of this so you can go back and watch it whenever. Otherwise, on June 3rd, completely free. Some of the speakers that they have, they're going to have Heath and Alyssa Paget, which, Heath was the original host of the RV Entrepreneur podcast. Alyssa has written, I don't know how many books on RVing. They're just really wonderful humans. They're going to be there. Chris and Cherie from RVmobileinternet.com are also going to be speaking. They're a huge resource. I mean, we talk about them quite often. Our friends, the Border Hookups, Dave and Jacqueline, they're going to be also speaking. They are musicians out on the road that they make a living traveling around and performing in different locations. They're fantastic. If you ever see them anywhere, you see that the Border Hookups are playing, you should absolutely listen to that. Bryce and Nellie, the Jergies, they're going to be speaking. They're opening a campground or are running a campground out in Idaho. They do summer camps. I mean, there's a list of people on here that are going to be talking about how they have made a career in the RV industry or have built a nomadic career or just want to talk about the RV lifestyle in general. Our friend Patrick from RV Life is also going to be talking. Kimberly Crossland from the RVE podcast is going to be on. It's a great list. You should go over and check it out. It's the RVconvention.com. It takes place on June 3rd. We will certainly be there watching. I'm looking forward to it.
And of course, we'll put a link to it in the description so you can find it there. That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Yes, it is. And just a reminder, because we like to give reminders at the end of the episode, Homecoming is happening. It is still on. It is October 9th through the 13th in Amana, Iowa. Mile Marker members get a discount to this event. They get $25 off each ticket. So even if you've been on the fence about becoming a Mile Marker member, now is a great time to do it. You can join for $70 for the year. You're going to get $25 off each ticket to Homecoming. So if two of you come, that's $50 off. You basically got $50 off your ticket to Homecoming. That's like just paying $20 to be a Mile Marker member. Like, there's a lot of great things happening. Seminars, cornhole tournaments. We're going to have nightly community meals. It's going to be a great time, and we would absolutely love to see you there. Amana is such a fun area. You will love it. You can go to rvmiles.com/homecoming to learn more. We are over, I would say at this point, like 2/3 sold on this event. So if you are really wanting to come, we cannot encourage it enough that you get your tickets right now. Other than that, hey, have a really safe Memorial Day weekend. We know that this is the kickoff for a lot of people to the RV travel season. So if you are out there, there will be probably more people on the road. So just stay safe. So enjoy this extra long weekend. Be safe, stay healthy, and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.